Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Dan Bates, President and CEO of the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, and we are really happy that you could join us this morning on Coffee and Conversations. We are going to have a guest speaker today that we're very excited about. I'll just go ahead and talk about her a little bit, and then when she's ready, she can do her thing. But anyway, Teresa Youngstrom is a registered nurse with over 35 years of experience, and she has many areas of experience in healthcare with hospital, home care, hospice, and many more. But she's also a dementia specialist, and I met her, I guess it was about a year ago. And I was really taken by her passion. And she is the founder of A Better Approach to Memory Care. So I think that you're going to find what she has to say today extremely interesting. She does staff training, first responder training, all kinds of things. And she's going to kind of update us this morning on, dementia, and I think maybe some early signs or how to do a test, but basically what she does. So Teresa, we can't wait to get to your presentation. Anyway, I'm Dan Bates. You know who I am. We're going to do self-introductions so we can find out who all of you are. So I'm turning that back to Laura.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Laura Merrill with the Greater Hamilton Chamber. Glad to have you with us today. We'll go around. Please introduce yourself. Tell me your name and what company you're with. And we will start with you. Maybe. Or how about Jason? Would you like to tell us who you are and what company you're with since you are new to us?
Good morning. My name is Jason, and I am with Biscuits and Brews of Hamilton. And we are very excited to be here and attend our very first coffee.
Awesome. We're glad to have you with us. And have you returned yet? And then we've also got somebody else popping on. Tiffany, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself real quick?
Yep. Hi, I'm Tiffany Grab, Director of Membership and Marketing at the Greater Hamilton Chamber. And then, yep, we have Jill.
Jill, would you like to tell us who you are and who you're with? Well, we'll do some self-introduction.
Sorry, trying to unmute. The unmute was not working. Excuse me. Good morning, Jill Grissom, Queen City Hospice.
Glad to have you with us. And then we've got Ann Arnett with Gateway Springs also on here. Teresa, we are super excited to have you sharing with us today. So we will let you take it away.
Thank you so much. I am excited to be here, and I'm going to use PowerPoint just to keep me on task. Can everybody see that okay? Yeah, we get a thumbs up. All right, good. So my company, like Dan said, is A Better Approach to Memory Care, and it really came out of going through a trial and a season with my mom when her brain started to fail. And you'd think that a nurse of as many years as I had would have known how to handle that. And crazy part was I would have told you I did know how to handle that. And but I was stopped. And when she threw me out of the blankety blank house, that's when I knew I needed to get some more training. And it occurred to me that being in this healthcare field for so long, having helped start a private duty home care company, I've worked in all these different areas, that there were a lot of families struggling like I was. And I went and got trained under a lady named Teepa Snow with Positive Approach to Care, became a certified dementia practitioner, and then said, okay, here we go. There were people calling saying, what do we do now? And I said, all right, well, we're going to figure this out. And I think it's time for me just to start a business and be able to share with you guys what I've learned. So my website, teresayoungstrom.com, there are lots of workshops there. And so I could be here for days talking with you guys about this topic because it is my passion. And I'm forever learning new things about it. But today we're just going to hone in on how to have better communication with memory loss, because this is really the first thing you better learn how to do if you're dealing with someone who has brain failure. We call it brain failure, guys, because that's really what it is. But one thing I've learned is just because maybe this part of my brain is dying, my left temporal, maybe my language and cognition is struggling, it doesn't mean that other parts of my brain aren't still functioning. And so I don't want you to figure out, oh, they've got a diagnosis, we better get our paperwork done and our life in order, like the end is coming soon. because if you know anything about dementia, some of these can last 10, 20, and some of those vascular dementia folks are living 30 years if they don't have comorbidities. So let's hone in on just better communication with memory loss. I broke it down to 3 sections for you: better approach, a better conversation, and a better reconciliation. Because sometimes the wheels fall off, you bang into them, not meaning to, but wow, it can really get hard. I got a text last night from a lady and she said, "Oh my gosh, things are so bad. It's getting, and I said, okay, we'll talk. There are lots of reasons why someone might be reacting the way they are. And so we got to talk about that. But how do we get someone's attention just in life? You might go, hey, Gary, Dan, Mary, it's so great to see you. Hey, it's me, Teresa. But when it comes to people that have brain failure, what you need to know that people that get a true dementia, they get scuba vision. They lose peripheral vision faster than the average Joe. I mean, I do a whole talk on normal aging versus not normal aging. So what are symptoms that are just normal aging? I mean, we're all wearing contacts, or we've had our LASIK, or we've got our cheaters, or we've got our bifocals on, or we're lying. And so you know that our eyes fail. Well, guess what? Our brains fail too. Our brain definitely, we might be slower to think, but usually we've got a wealth of knowledge and experience to add to our decision making. So the 25-year-old might make a quicker decision, but we might have one with a lot more experience, and we're not going to be as impulsive. And so there's value in the wisdom we've accumulated over the years. That's a good thing, right? Those of us that are past the halfway mark, so exciting. But some normal aging things, you see it in your skin, you see it in these crazy bodies, but loss of peripheral vision is part of normal aging. But with dementia, we come down to scuba vision. And so think about that. If this is your only world, look in your scuba mask, and none of this other stuff really is occurring to you. You haven't got awareness, and you can get startled really easily. You startle somebody, boy, the dukes can come up and the wheels can fall off, and it can get ugly fast. So just remember, you should always approach from the front with someone, because you got to get it right, because otherwise, wow, you can really bring out, the lion or the tiger in somebody. And that's what we don't want to do. Startling someone, not a good idea when they've got brain failure. Startling someone with brain failure can tap right into their limbic system. It's crazy how the brain can have so much decline, yet that startle response, that limbic system, that where the amygdala gets fired up is my fight, fright, flight, flee, freeze. That just can really get me fired up. And just know, when you get someone upset like that, it's not the right time to try and finger wag them down. And you better knock that off. That's not very nice. Those words you're using aren't very nice. I want to teach you that we're the ones with the sane brains, with the healthy brains, who need to know how to come alongside and validate that. So we'll get to that point. But just remember, first thing, if you hear anything today, startling these folks is not a good idea. Coming in from their back and throwing your arms around them, not a good idea. You could get punched. And it was really our fault. We did that because we startled that person. So it's just really, really important, because it can really generate inappropriate behavior. So the vision changes, we talked a little bit about that. And we really need to remember that if their brain can be in a different place, we need to get permission to even touch them. So when I ran a private duty, the home care company, lots of training, but when I was a director of a memory care, frequently the caregivers, my goodness, they were always so busy and in a hurry, and they had 10 patients to get to the dining room in a certain amount of time, and they'd come flying into the patient's room and go, "Oh my goodness, Mary, you're wet. Why didn't you call me? Goodness gracious, this is going to take forever. Don't you know I got 10 patients today?" Well, can you imagine, by then the dukes are up and somebody's swinging, and somebody might end up getting medicated. But I want you to consider whose fault that was. Is it the patient's fault that the caregiver was stressed and came in too fast and startled, that startle reflex in the patient? So it's so important to take time when you approach someone. We already know we approach from the front, don't we? Because they lose peripheral vision. So the other thing is to make sure they have awareness you're there before you touch. Hey, mom, it's Teresa. How are you? It's so great to see you. And I'm not going to move in and touch her, even my own mom, because I've seen the results. I'm not going to move in and touch before she either looks at me, smiles at me, gives me that happy eyebrow look, that smile, or maybe she puts her hand out too that I can come in and touch her. This is actually a cool thing. The whole shake the hand thing that's been ingrained in us, that's muscle memory. That's not my cognition, which seems to get damaged first. That's not my inability to understand your words or what you're trying to say to me. But this is a reflex from the back of my brain. So you might be able to get permission to touch someone just by putting your hand out and greeting them. But I don't walk in and touch anybody because I'm not risking startling them. You startle them, oh my goodness, you've got to be backing out, apologizing, trying to help de-escalate that so that you can come in again and try and give care. And when we're in a hurry and short-staffed, it makes it really, really tough. So let's get permission and be patient because, you know, as we get older, our hearing can be challenged. That is not related to dementia. Just so you know, the hearing part is separate from, say, cognition in my brain. So you're either hard of hearing or you're not. It's good to get that addressed early because late in life, when you get me hearing aids and I don't know what these things are, where in the world I don't wear these things. And we end up, you know, taking a $3,000 pair of hearing aids and we maybe put them right in the trash or somewhere we never find again. My mom put her teeth somewhere we never found. It's just dementia, okay? It's just dementia. So we need to be patient. We need to consider their hearing and their vision. And so when we approach, we try and address a couple different senses that they have. We want to give them a visual cue. Make sure your face says, I'm happy to be here. I'll say that a couple times. Our tone and body language is real important. So, hey, and we want them to be able to hear us. Hey, mom, it's Teresa. Always tell them who you are. I'll get family members who will come in or caregivers saying, do you remember my name? Do you remember? Come on, you remember. Wait, now she knows. Mom, you remember my name, right? Come on, you knew it yesterday. And I would see the family member and have to pull them aside and say, I know you want her to remember your name. There will be a time when she will not remember your name. But just know the stress you're putting on her by drilling her with questions on your initial approach to her could make her kick you out of her room. And then what I'm going to hear is, gosh, she's gotten really mean. And I want to have to back up and help you understand why she does what she does and how frequently the behaviors we see when they act out, say mean things, cuss, carry on. You know, Teepa, my mentor from Positive Approach, says that 70% of those behaviors are caused by us. That's a big number. So we really need to pause when we're coming in to greet someone. We need to pause and make sure we're ready to go and that we're going to greet them and we're going to bring in maybe some compliment or something. Wow, your hair looks great today. Or I love that top on you. It really matches your eyes wonderfully. And that you start the conversation with something positive and help them smile before we come in with, oh my gosh, have you not eaten again? I put that food there last night. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we damage relationships trying to do good. And so let's back up. Let's think more about why they're doing what they're doing. Be patient, since hearing and vision cognition could be all compromised. Sometimes they have hearing like an eagle to the end. I'm telling you, my mother did till the very end. And vision, our vision always declines. So we approach from the front, just in review, give them a visual audible cue. Let's wait. And then make sure they acknowledge you. Then go in, especially if they give you their hand, take their hand and move in alongside. Okay, don't stand right in front of them. Think about if my vision field is like this and you're standing in front of me, you're taking up all of my field of vision. I can feel really closed in. I can feel like I can't escape. And it can be confrontational. And sometimes I'm looking at your belly button anyway, because you're standing up and I'm sitting in my wheelchair. So wouldn't it be nice to pull up a chair and maybe greet them or get down on a knee and greet them? But as soon as you have that touch, it's nice to move alongside and do things with them instead of to them. Trust me, you'll have a better, better connection and a better response. So yeah, make that positive connection before you ask them for anything. And then Mayo Clinic says our body language and our tone are more important than the words that we're using. By the time we're having challenges communicating with someone with brain failure, they're checking us out when we come in. I remember being asked to go meet a lady that the family said, she's so mean, we can't do anything with her. And I said, okay, I'll go see if I can, they wanted to bring private duty in till they could get her into a community. And they were on a wait list for 30 days. And so I went out to meet the lady. I knocked on the door. Oh my goodness, she throws the door open. Hair's kind of crazy. She got several layers of clothes on. And I noticed she had oversized, dirty men's tennies on, tennis shoes. And I was just kind of taking it all in, notified my face. I was happy to be there, right? Got my tone in order because they seem to really notice body language and tone more than the words. And I went, hey, I'll just call her Mary. Mary, Teresa the nurse. So great to see you today. And I waited. She looked at me. She checked me up and down, sideways. And I said, can I come in? She goes, well, okay. And she let me come in. But I think a lot of it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we have to come up with another technique. But boy, a lot of things that in that instance went right, and she let me come in. But I can tell you that people that have those behaviors where they act out, say mean things, become aggressive, they may even call you, use really bad language, racial slurs, sexual innuendo. We hear it all. And those are called their emergency words. It comes from a place in the right side of the brain, and the left side's not working great anymore. So usually when we hear those words, we know there's pain, fear, or anxiety going on. Do you hear what I said? Pain, fear, or anxiety. If you've been telling them what to do for a long time and you've damaged that relationship, maybe you've even done things to lose trust with them, all with good intention, all with trying to help them do better, live better, feel better. But if they, in their mind, listen, their perspective is their perspective. And so if we've damaged the relationship, they may not ever want to be around you again. I don't want that to happen to you. And that's why another reason I do what I do, to try and help family members learn how to get on the right side of this so that you're part of the solution and not part of the problem. Okay, there is already a problem. We can't fix it all, but we still can come alongside and help. And so the body language, Mayo Clinic says this is more important. They said body language, like 55% of the communication with someone with brain failure. And that the tone is like 35%. So you can see our words don't account for much. And when I was the director of the memory care, caregiver would come in too fast. The woman would fly off the handle, fists are flying. So the next time that woman might hit her call light or need something, you can imagine the caregiver might be a little sour, when she came back in, because maybe she called her something really nasty. And so she's liable to come in, hands on the hips with, what do you want? Okay, listen, bam, we just ruined that interaction. Body language, tone, all of it wrong. Remember, they probably don't even remember that incident. Short-term memory loss is usually one of the earliest signs, most common signs. And so outside the room is where we need to get ourselves together, get our tone, our body language, notify your face you're happy to be there. Okay, and make sure if you want to have a positive interaction, it takes some effort, but boy, it's worth everything. So use hand gestures to get your point across. As their brain declines, hey, so good to see you. Good? Not good? Good? Yeah? Let's go this way. And so we start talking more with our hands because they can't understand the words. Either they can't understand all the words, or they may be hearing static, they may be hearing music. The words just maybe all just jumbled. Tipa says sometimes it's 1 in 4 words. So if you were to replay my workshop and you were getting 1 out of 4 words, it wouldn't be probably quite as informative, would it? So work on using fewer words as they decline. And they may remember what you say, guys, or they They usually don't remember what you say, but they do remember how you made them feel. This is just a fact. They don't always remember the words that you say, but they remember how you make them feel. And that's when we can start to damage a relationship to the point where then they never want you around again. And that's devastating for maybe a daughter, son, or a spouse who's been given it all, but then they feel like they lose it all just because they didn't understand how to communicate with this person and how to reconcile. So let's move on to better communication. A few things to try. And like I said, try, because everybody's different. I was telling someone in the beginning that there are more than 100 diagnoses that are giving us symptoms of a dementia. Remember, a true dementia is not treatable. Urinary tract infection can give us symptoms of a dementia, but that is not a true dementia, right? Because it's treatable. If you lose your thyroid and it's not working great, you can look like maybe you've got memory challenges, but that is not a dementia. That is treatable. There are B vitamin deficits, there's alcohol problems, there can be brain tumors, and the list goes on. But those things are not a true dementia. And so we have to try and figure out what works best in your instance. So let's look at a few things. Pacing. So it's good when you come into their presence, like I said, stop outside their emergency field. You're 3 feet, they're 3 feet. And don't touch them until they have awareness that you're there. But I want you to be a really good detective and try and take note of whether do they remember you at that moment, not asking questions, just kind of be aware, listen to the words that they're using. And are they moving kind of slow? Are they tired? Did they just wake up? And I want you to try and match your pace to theirs. Okay, pause if needed. If they're not ready to wake up and have a conversation with you, don't come bouncing in that room and think that they're going to be excited that you're there. You're probably going to get kicked out of the room, and we begin to damage the relationship. Startling them never is a good thing. So we need to pause. So pacing, match your pace to where their pace is. If they're in an energized, excitable place, then be there. But if they're not, then be willing to slow down and ease into the conversation or the interaction. Reflection. So instead of correcting them when they say something wrong, maybe try repeating the words back to them and see if they can clarify. Because sometimes they say something to you and they're not even using real words. And so you might repeat it back to them and see if they might go, no, I want to go to lunch. And what they said before didn't exactly sound like that. But when you repeated it back, they're able to sometimes correct it and bring out the new information. Doesn't always work. Everybody's different. And remember, dementia is a progressive disease. It goes like this. And so our goal is to try and meet them where they are, allow them to have as much independence, much freedom, let them to do as much activity as they can at each stage of this, love them the best we can on each stage of this disease. All right. So reflection might work, saying it back to them, see if they correct themselves or if they give you more detail. Because they might say, I want to go home. You want to go home. And it needs to be with the same emotion that they're giving you. And they could be very frustrated because going home is really more of a feeling than a place usually. And a lot of times I need to go home. It can mean I need to go to the bathroom, but nothing here looks right. Like this doesn't look like my bathroom is here. Or it may need be, I want to get a drink of water, but I don't recognize this place anymore. Remember, the short-term memory is damaged. And when we move their location, oh my word, that's huge. And so really be careful to take a lot of time and thought when you change their location that this next step is the best for them. Because every time we change location, they spiral down a little bit. Now, some of them, it actually is a better situation and they level off and they may even do a little better until then they start, they end up declining. But these folks that bounce around from community to community to community, they end up on a gazillion medications because they live like this, and you can't live like this and be pleasant with anybody. And again, I'll get the call saying they're just so mean. I guess they all get mean, and I have to say, okay, time out. They don't all just get mean. Paying for your anxiety. And is there something we've done? You can expect that it is going to be bumpy after you change their location. It is going to be bumpy. my best advice, bring in private duty for a while, at where they are, let them get acclimated, and then move them into a community and let that private duty then go with them. You know, that's in a perfect world where, you know, everybody has $1 million, which isn't true, but we can sometimes figure that out, how to then have private duty stay with them the first couple weeks to help acclimate them to their new surroundings, show them where the bathroom is, get them into a new routine. Boy, it helps so much with these individuals to have a routine. And so now we got to show them where the new dining room is, the new activity room, and how to find back to their apartment or their studio. And so having private duty in for a while, wean them out as needed. I think that's the ideal situation. It won't always happen because sometimes the caregiver falls, breaks their hip, meaning the spouse, and then all of a sudden we need a plan really quick to transition somebody. So it's just not easy, guys. So reflection, we got validation. This is a huge thing. And I think in the last year, I've talked more about validation than anything else. So when you come in or you interact with them and all of a sudden things really hit the ceiling and you hear the emergency words and they're telling you what for and get out of the blankety blank house. You know, if I'd have known that day with my mom when she kicked me out of the house, how to validate, I wouldn't have gotten kicked out. And I can tell you that later in life, I didn't get kicked out because I was able to say, wow, you must be exhausted, or wow, that's not right. And even if she's wrong, I'm going to get on her team. Even if she's wrong, I'm going to get on her team because in that moment, she needs to be validated because you can't come in saying, yeah, that's not true. Your parents aren't here. They haven't been here. They've been dead for 20 years. Okay, wrong answer. You need to validate. Wow, that must have been scary. Man, wow, are you even okay? Whew, that was a lot. That was a lot. I can see why you're angry about that. I'd be angry too. Okay, and just join them and see if you can start to de-escalate their anxiety. They're usually afraid of something, or there could be pain, fear, anxiety. So even if they're wrong, I want you to acknowledge their frustration and their anger with understanding and acceptance. All right, and then you can start to de-escalate, and then you can transition them to another place emotionally or physically. That day with my mom, she had been left alone, I think probably 5 or 10 minutes while the caregiver was in the back of the house. So when I happened to walk in, whew, she hit me with both barrels and said, nobody does a blankety blank thing in this house. I have had to do the laundry. I've had to wash the windows and clean the closet. And I said, wow. Now you have to remember my mom was in a wheelchair. So none of that was true. But in the moment, in the heat of the moment, just accept and agree. Okay. Just validate that. Because I can't move her anywhere to a better place until I've done that part, until I've gotten on her team. I even took my body around to her position, like I'm looking out with her, like we're together in this. That was wrong. Well, you shouldn't have to do that. You must be exhausted. And she's like, yeah. And then she exhaled, guys, and her fist came down. She was so used to fighting with people about those because she'd say something and she had been programmed. We program them by the way we respond. We program them to be defensive. And they know next time you come in, they're going to be ready to go a little sooner. Okay, so let's not try and do forced care on people. Let's figure out a better way. So maybe better conversation will help you. Either or is another good thing because sometimes we'll come in with, are you gonna shower today? And if you ask those yes, no questions, they learn early on to say no. Because no means you might leave me alone. Yes means you're going to do something I'm not going to like. All right, we've been there, done that. You've programmed me. So either or is a much better thing because when you do an either or, then you let them feel like they're still in control. Are you going to shower or wash up? Both of them are great answers, right? Are you going to wear the blue dress or the green dress today? Both of them are good answers. And whatever they pick, be excited about. That's what I would have done. And I want you to affirm them. Okay, give them some affirmation. Guys, it's super scary inside a brain that's dying. Super scary, right? Nothing seems right. I'm unsure of everything. I don't know. And they question everything. So anything we can do to come alongside and reassure them and affirm them, way to go. positive, very positive. So either or works, because I'll have families say she doesn't eat anymore. And I'll hear them say, Mom, you gonna eat lunch? And she'll go, no. And I'm here to tell you, she probably didn't even understand the words they were saying at that point in time. But she heard the da 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 da. She knew it was a question. And she knows that means they might go try and start taking her clothes off, because it's happened before. So she says no. But if you were to say turkey or ham sandwich, and maybe show her the package of each meat, turkey or ham, and let her choose who feels like they're in control. Do we still win? Do we still get her fed? Absolutely. Okay, that's a win-win. So do you want something to drink or something else? Because sometimes we come in and we don't really know what they want. They want something and they're trying to tell us they want something. Oh, but I can tell you, I used to make this mistake where I'd say, oh, yeah. She wants the yogurt. Yep, she wants the yogurt. No, I don't want it. I'm like, oh, mess that up. Okay, back up. Sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. So if you really aren't sure what they want, it's better to say, is it the yogurt or something else? And then see if they'll give you more information. But you come in there saying, I know what they want, and that feels bossy to them, or that you're taking control, it can backfire on you. Okay, not everybody. They're all different. You know what? If you've met one person with dementia, you've met one person, and they're all going to be a little bit different. And you have to figure out how to get into their world and love them through it. Okay, try this as another good one for substitution. Say they're at the kitchen table and somebody accidentally left a screwdriver or maybe some sharp scissors or something they could get themselves in trouble with, hurt themselves accidentally. And so what I know is if you just try and take something from them, we're going to fight. They're going to fight. And so it's better to offer a substitution. Maybe you find, that protein bar they love and say, oh, try this, and see if they'll trade you for it. I watched a video once where there was a woman in a community who had, I guess, a little musical instrument that's loud, a bongo, not bongo, that's not right. Anyway, she was banging that on the furniture, acting like she was dusting. She had been a housekeeper, and she's banging that musical instrument on all these chairs and tables. And Tipa was able to trade her for a dust rag. And she could do her thing. She felt productive, and she wasn't disturbing everybody in the room. So take a pause when something is going wrong. It's good just to take a breath and think for a minute. What should I do? Don't just react, because chances are you'll make the wrong decision and upset them. So try this as a great substitution. My mom used to chew on her hand a lot once she lost her teeth. And so I would come in with, she was safe with a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop. And I would bring one of those and say, try this. But if you were just to offer to her, do you want this? No. She would say no every time. But if you'd say, try this, she'd take it, pop it right in, be happy as a clam. So let's avoid using those yes, no questions, because they're going to say no. When you're not sure what they're talking about, you can say, tell me about that. Tell me more. Tell me more. Okay, so what do we do really when the situation changes and the wheels really fall off? Just remember that the goal is to be respectful, not agitating, especially when the unexpected happens. So I want you to breathe. When they're yelling at you or something like that, and get yourself together and maintain your calmness. Okay, and it's best just to go ahead and apologize, validate it. That shouldn't have happened. I'm so sorry. That shouldn't have happened. Yeah, I'm gonna have to fix that. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, that shouldn't have happened. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry about that. And that's just one situation. You will have trial and error with your loved one. You will have to try things and find out what works. And then, honestly, we had a list of things that worked to calm her down and a list of things not to try, because we'd already tried those. And these things don't work. And so each person is different. So possible situations to prepare for. So why do they accuse us of things or overreact, to a lot of things? And it's just because their brain is broken and they may not understand, what is going on at the time. But there are some folks who don't know they have this disease. They develop kind of a brain block, something called anosognosia. It is actually a diagnosis where they no longer see the disease. in themselves. And it can be really tough to deal with because when I come in and say, here, let me help take you to the bathroom, she's not even remembering she needs to go to the bathroom or that she's been in that brief for 3 years, been wearing briefs for 3 years. We've been toileting her for 3 years. She doesn't know. And so they may accuse you and everything is your fault and you get out of my blankety blank house. Okay. So if they develop that anosognosia, and I'm here to tell you, probably 50% of the people with some form of dementia go on and develop anosognosia. And sometimes it's in the evening, like when they're sundowning, when their brain is tired. Like in the morning, it's very interesting. They might be really clear-minded and be able to answer some important questions about their banking or, or what's going on for the day. But then late in the evening, they're in left field and you get out of my blankety blank house. And so we need to prepare for that because they may accuse us of doing things that we didn't do. But who has a healthy brain and who's got a broken brain? So do we finger wag them down? I'm going to just say, let me save you a lot of trouble and say, no way. And make sure you're like, oh, so sorry. So instead of coming in saying, can I take you to the bathroom? I'm going to come up with a reason why I need your help. I'm going to need your help back in the bathroom. Okay. It's a good technique. We can elaborate it on at another conference. And why do they frequently start using bad words? Well, we talked about that a little bit, the emergency words. And it's usually when the language and cognition is so damaged that they no longer have the right word to say. So they're going to give you an ugly word. All right. And they come up with their favorites. And you just need to not go, oh, you shouldn't talk like that. That's not going to help you any. Just take it as a symptom. Okay, pain, fear, anxiety, pain, fear, anxiety. I got to be a good detective, not a judge. I need to look them head to toe and see if I can figure this out. That lady that I went to see that had the oversized tennies had 10 ingrown toenails. So how nice are you going to be on if you've got one ingrown toenail? But this poor lady, they hadn't seen her feet in a long time because she was so mean. She was so mean because she was in so much pain. And so frequently I'm finding that these people are being accused of having behaviors and they're getting medicated for them when there could be a reason why. And so I just want to pause before we medicate. I want to pause and really take a look at what just happened. And did they accidentally get their elbow bumped? Their skin tears real easily when they're older. Did they get their skin tear on their elbow? Did you bruise them? Is their foot caught down in the wheelchair pedals or something? There could be something more. And so that's why they frequently start using bad words. It's because they can't find the words they used to know. All right, we've talked about that. Pain, fear, anxiety will usually drive those negative reactions. Okay, accept and agree. I've told you that already. That needs to be your motto. Accept and agree, even when they're wrong. I mean, unless they want to jump off the balcony or drive a car, we can usually accept and agree. Never correct them, right? And apologize even when you're right. I'm so sorry. I came in too fast, didn't I? I know I shouldn't have done that. I'm so sorry. You know what? I'm not going to let that happen again. I'm glad you told me to. I'm glad you told me. And then just redirect them to a happy place. Maybe it's the pictures of the grandkids. Maybe it's the dog that they have. Everybody's happy place is different, but redirect them to what brings them joy. And if they're not ready, then just sit quietly. Just sit quietly. If they've got a good mad going on, you can't just push a button and change it. So we need to accept and agree. We need to validate it, apologize for it. And then when they're ready, move them physically or emotionally to a better place and help them get back to a joyful spot. Don't try and fix everything. We can't fix it all. I'm sorry, this is so hard. That was just the advice I gave to a lady last night, a friend who was texting me saying the wheels are falling off, this. He's not doing great. And I told her, I said, well, have your mother-in-law say, I'm so sorry. This is so hard. And it's sometimes good to turn your body away from them. I'm so sorry. This is so hard. Because now I'm not glaring at you. And a lot of times they will see this as a way, I'm retreating, I'm not coming in, I'm not being confrontational, and I'm willing to work with you. Okay. Well, your loved one, like your child, will find their self-worth in what they see on your face. So remember that. Okay. Notify your face you're happy to be there with a smile. And that's my sweet mama. She's not here with us anymore, but I try and put her picture in all my presentations. She's why I do this. Absolutely. And that battery operated cat gave her a lot of joy, honestly. But you need to give yourself and your loved one grace daily, because it's one of the hardest things that you'll probably ever go through in your life. There is help out there, and that's why I do what I do. So if anybody has questions, I'm going to lose the PowerPoint and we will go to questions.
Very good, Teresa, like always.
Oh, thank you, Jill. Thanks so
You've
much.
helped me immensely with people that I talk with, so thank you.
You're welcome. Good, good, good. Yeah. Can make a huge difference in how you interact with a loved one or anyone or a client, or, you know, Jill, you're going into people's homes and I know you're seeing it. And yeah, so any of you who have businesses out there, I mean, I've spoken to insurance people because they have two people come and sit in front of their desk and all of a sudden one of them's getting really agitated and you can't really see the good reason why they might be getting agitated, but then they may just get up and storm out, or they might drop their fist on the table and say, I demand to know what's going on here. And it's because their language and cognition has been damaged and they have dementia. And so they're not understanding what's going on. And that might be that is not a good time for anybody to finger wag them. That's when we ought to say, oh, so sorry, Betty. We're going too fast, aren't we? Oh my gosh, this is my fault. I should never have done that. I am so sorry. And I got to tell you, I probably at that point am going to get pulled away and have to probably shut down that meeting, because that meeting probably can't happen with her there anyway, because she's never going to really understand it all. Okay. And we're just going to agitate her. And so it's good to be wise when you're in a meeting with someone. If the wheels really are falling off, sometimes we have to shut it down. Other times we have skills to be able to reassure them that, oh, everything's okay. But what I don't want you to do, I don't want you, you know, if I'm having a conversation with Anne and you know, her spouse of 60 years, is with her, and and he's got dementia, and she and I are trying to talk about this, it wouldn't be good for me to talk around him to Anne. Okay, super inappropriate. And it does damage the relationship, because then he can lose trust in Anne. And so be very careful, even at the doctor's office. You know, I like to write out what all's going on and give that to the doctor, and give that actually to the receptionist outside of the patient seeing that, with a note at the bottom saying, look, I'm the daughter. I will be on her team the whole time in this interaction. Please don't pit me against my loved one. You and I can talk privately afterwards, but here's what's really going on, so you have a good view of what's going on, and give them some insight. Just let them know up front. There's still a lot of professionals that don't get it, and they'll talk around the patient. They're not deaf. They're not deaf usually. They're lacking cognition, and you can just really irritate someone when you talk around them. Does that make sense? Anyway, who's got a question?
I don't have a question, Teresa, but I just want to say, you know, I think this really helps people understand, because it can be very frustrating for the family and caregiver, you know, and I think that's, you know, people lose their patience and say and do things we shouldn't do. So it can be extremely frustrating, because we're not normally that patient as individuals. And I think this helps understand, because it also, if you don't understand what's really going on, you just sometimes think they're not trying or whatever. And that's a terrible thing to admit, but you know,
Sure.
I think this is
Absolutely.
very beneficial.
Good. Thank you. Thanks for bringing me here today.
Well, Teresa, I've got a question. So if people think of some questions later, what are some ways people can contact you, and like what kind of different services do you offer?
Yeah, so my website is teresayoungstrom.com. It's just my name. And the email is teresa@teresayoungstrom.com. So we keep it simple. But I do speaking events. I speak, in churches and retirement communities and insurance companies and elder law attorneys communities, and just wherever people are who need to hear information. We're all dealing with, there's someone somewhere in your life now or who's going to be dealing with this. They say statistically age 65, 25% of the population have some symptoms. And by the time we're 85, 50% of those folks, not everybody will get it. That's 50% who won't. So let's stay hopeful, y'all. But, but it's 50% who will. And so, so I do the speaking events. I do a lot of consultations. And so consultation could be a phone consultation. It could be a Zoom consultation like this. Get all the family members on there, not with the patient, so that we can all have a heart to heart about what the real problems are, who's struggling where, and then how we can come up with a game plan to all be pulling in the same direction. Because frequently you need a third party to have a great conversation about that. Because I know in a family, I have 7 siblings. So there were a lot of us, and we weren't always on the same page or pulling in the same direction. And so we actually, TIPA says only 1 in 5 families stay together after going through this with a parent. It's terrible statistics. And so I decided right away that my siblings, we were going to get together on a regular basis, every so many months, and talk about how we're doing. How do you think we're doing? Everybody get their voice it right now, say your piece. And then to be able to make sure we're all pulling in the same direction and nobody's unhappy or feeling like we should have just sold the house and put her in a home instead of keeping her at home. And it can bring up a lot of challenges like that. So, and I'll do in-person consults too, come meet you around the kitchen table. So those are a variety of things. And I do staff training at a lot of places. Like I said, I'm doing more and more first responder training with fire and EMS. And they are amazing because you know what, they get called into the nursing home or to the home when the wheels are falling off, right? And maybe somebody doesn't know how to work with someone with dementia. And, they say to me, we don't have a magic wand. We get called in like we have a magic wand. And what I had to train them to understand is, just because you come in uniforms with all your boxes of stuff, that doesn't make the patient with dementia, that doesn't usually intimidate them. Because if they're already have a good mad going on, guess what? You just became a new part of the problem. And it's just going to get ugly and forceful, and drugs come out and injections. And that's not how I want it to be. So to be able to train them to send one person in and take control of the situation and get alongside that patient with, are you okay? Wow, how are you even doing with this? This isn't right. And get on their team, even if they're completely wrong, get on their team and help them feel like they've got a partner in that moment and help them validate and de-escalate that situation rather than sending everybody in. Because a lot of times a fireman gets sent out, they're all, EMTs now. And you can have a lot of people, and who knows, by then you got the neighbors or everybody in the nursing home is piled into the room to see this event because it's loud and crazy. And so I teach them to clear the room and help calm things down, bring it down. The goal shouldn't always be to take that person out. That's a wild roller coaster of events. I think the goal, if they're not bleeding, is to help escort them back into bed or into a chair where we can calm the situation down. So being able to train them, I do a lot of staff training for private duty and home care companies, things like that. So questions can come to email, questions can come through the website. There are blogs on the website there. My calendar's there of upcoming events. So Speak for the Alzheimer's Association every month. That's always a Zoom, so everybody can attend. That's on the calendar, and the links will be there for that to register. And we do just a monthly support group that is sponsored by Ohio Valley Hospice, sponsors that. And it's just open to anybody who's got a question. Any caregiver. It started off very specific group, but it's opened up to then just anybody who has a question right now, what you're struggling with. So I'm open to new ideas. If you've got new ideas, if you have new topics, it's interesting that I get ideas from topics from people like you who are listening and say, yeah, but what do you do when this happens? So I'm like, you know what, that's a good point. I probably haven't written anything about that. And then to create, research it, come up with good information and put a PowerPoint together so that we can then present that. So I just so appreciate being here Laura, Tiffany, everybody. Thanks so much for having me here. It's just a pleasure to be here.
All right, we appreciate you, Teresa. Anybody have any last minute questions? No? All right, well, we will be back on Coffee and Conversation on Tuesday, February 8th, 9 to 10 a.m. here on Zoom again. Teresa, again, we appreciate you being here. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to contact Teresa. Sounds like she's an amazing resource for all those families, because that can be an extremely, extremely difficult time for them and their loved ones. So we appreciate you being here, and then we will see you all in a couple weeks.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye-bye.